Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Markets to Watch from Smack the Markets for week commencing the 15th of October. Now, this week we've already started with quite a bit of volatility in the markets. It's a big week for the pound. It's a big week for sort of Brexit news, and I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of volatility between the euro and Great British pound accordingly. The euro has started off the week under pressure. There's been some, negative news from Germany over the weekend, and also with the Italian sort of budget as well, that's impacting on the strength of the euro today too. So I think it's going to be an interesting week for a number of markets, and specifically an interesting week for sterling and the euro. Now, this week so far, what we're seeing that Monday morning is a flight to quality, a flight to safe havens at this moment in time. We're seeing a lot of strength in the yen, a lot of strength in the Swissy, gold, all of those sort of safe haven markets. So if we look at those sorts of opportunities, then we can start to look at, perhaps sort of like playing on that strength, especially if there is continued sort of tension and volatility in other markets, specifically around the Great British pound and that sort of Brexit negotiation. So if we look at yen, my favorite sort of yen market at the moment here is CAD yen. And if we have a look at this, I'll explain why. So from a swing perspective, CAD yen is on a weekly chart, it's in an uptrend, but the market has pulled all the way back into this sort of 86 level. At the moment, it's sort of sitting around that sort of decision point at this moment in time. But if we come down to the lower time frames, we can start to see that the market's looking a little bit more weaker on these lower time frames than it is on that weekly. So here on the daily chart, we can see that the uptrend that was formed here is now broken. The previous low has now been taken out as the market sort of like come back into that sort of 86 area. So the upward momentum is now broken, and we've also now got sort of continued strength to the short side, indicated here by our indicators. If we come down to the sort of 4-hour time frame, we can see the sort of consolidation that the market's been sort of forming here, just underneath that 86 level. So the low of this sort of consolidation is 85.70, and it's quite a nice sort of precise level here. Certainly we can see that we've got lower highs forming here. The moving averages are in the right order, but there is some divergence that has been sort of evident here on these 4-hour time frames. And this is because, the market sort of really moved down here very quickly, and, now it's been deciding really what it's going to do here. So I think that this is a real key decision point here for CAD yen. Certainly if 85.70 gets broken, that's a real sign of weakness here, and I think if that happens, we could see a continuation of this short. Possibly down here towards sort of 84, maybe even sort of 83. I'm certainly looking for a longer move based on those higher time frames if this market sort of breaks these levels and starts to continue its short trend. If we stay on the same theme of quality and flight to quality, the other markets that we could come and have a look at is precious metals. Now, all the precious metals are strong this morning. If we have a look at gold, which is my favorite one, gold has broken out of its range here that it's been stuck in for, quite some time. As you can see on the daily chart, there's been a level around 1.200 and 1.220 that the market has been contained underneath. Now, with this flight to quality and safe havens, the market's now sort of broken through those levels very decisively, and we're seeing certainly a nice long trends forming here. So the sort of opportunities that I'm looking for is really like we see here, where the market sort of broke out. It sort of pulled back into the moving averages, clustered up against a resistance level here, and it's now just sort of broken out again. So I'm looking for continued long trend plays here in gold on these sort of intraday time frames. And you can see, even if we start to come down to the lower time frames here, you can see where the market's sort of pulling back into moving averages, where we've got good market geometry here. These are the sorts of plays that I'm looking for to get sort of positioned in these markets. Now, as far as where could this market go, if we look at gold and start to think, well, it's broken out of this sort of consolidation here now. We've got about another level here around 112.40 and then around 112.60 and then the big level up here, which is 1300. So for me, I'm thinking, we've got good windows of opportunity in between these levels. I certainly don't want to be at risk when the market reaches these levels. So I'd like to be covered, or maybe out of the markets at these levels, and then look at new opportunities once the market's sort of broken these levels and if that trend continues. But I think if this uptrend continues, we could see a move up towards that sort of 1300 level and a retest of that. Let's have a look at one of the indices now. Now, US indices have been very popular, or certainly in the news over the past week, because of the huge amounts of volatility and the huge sell-off that we had last week. If we have a look at the Dow, now the mini Dow future, which is the Dow Jones future, is my preferred market out of the three. We can see that the market's sort of pulled back underneath 2550. In fact, there's a range here around 2500 to 2550. You can see on the weekly chart, this is now just sort of pulled back into the moving average zone. It's kind of back into that sort of sweet spot for a continuation long. And this is the story pretty much through the time frames on this market. And I think it really is at a key decision point. If we come to the daily time frame, we can see that on the daily, the market sort of sliced through a number of support levels. Here's our 2550, here's our 25 level. You can see that the market has just been bouncing between these two levels for the past few trading sessions. So I think that we've got some sort of, the market's certainly finding support here around this sort of 25,000 level, and we can certainly get quite a bit more information if we come down to the 4-hour time frame. So looking at this on the 4-hour time frame, again, you can see 25,000 here, and here's our 25,500 just at the top. You can see how the market's sort of tried to continue down to 25,000 and below, but the market's been unable to hold down there. So these have just been sort of like flashes, intraday flashes to the short side. We've also had strong momentum in the markets at these levels as well, just indicating that there's a lot of buying action around here. So I think that there is a key decision point here. And, for me, I prefer to trade the intraday momentum. There's going to be a lot more fundamental news that's going to come out this week, and that's really going to be the sort of the tipping point here, going to add to the decision as to whether this market is going to hold here at sort of 25.20 or whether it's going to roll over and decline further. I think either way, if once the market decides which way it's going to go, I think that there could be a decent move either way, either a retracement, or if this breaks, there's going to be a decent move to the short side as well. On the long side, by the way, if the market can get up above 25.40, 25.45, I think we could easily see a move up here towards 25.80 to 2600. And that, I think, is the sort of like the short-term sort of easy move. I think up here, there's going to be additional decision points, and there's also sort of resistance levels up here too that could resist the market moving higher in the short term. So for these markets, certainly the way that they're looking at the moment, intraday opportunities is what I'm looking at and playing the intraday momentum. But certainly we've got sort of good decision points and structure that we can look at either long or short on these markets. So there's a few markets that we're keeping a close eye on in the trading room. I certainly hope it helps, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Bye for now.